Bonding assignment number 1, define compound and recognize and interpret chemical formulas to create element inventories. A compound is two or more different elements chemically combined, and we've had that definition before now. By the end of this unit, we will understand what it means when it says chemically combined. Until now, I've just asked you to accept that, but we're going to show how electrons rearrange themselves to become chemically bonded to other atoms. So number 1 on your paper, define compound, two or more elements chemically combined. A chemical formula tells what elements are in a compound and how many. The compound H2O has 2 hydrogens, H2, H equals 2, and 1 oxygen. If there's no number written after it, it's a 1. O equals 1. So what atoms are in a compound and how many of each relative to each other, proportional to each other. For every 1 oxygen, there's 2 hydrogens. That's number 3 on your paper. The skill that we're going to acquire today is the ability to do element inventories. In order to do element inventories, you need to understand that there is a subscript. There is a subscript written whenever there's more than 1 atom. So again, H2O. There are 2 H's, H equals 2. How many O's? 1 O. So the example problem on your paper asks you to do an element inventory for H2SO4 sulfuric acid. How many hydrogen atoms are there? How many hydrogen atoms are there? The subscript after the letter H says 2. How many S atoms are there? The subscript after the S is nothing, so it's a 1. And how many O atoms are there? There's a 4 after the O, so there's 4 O's. That's how you do an element inventory. So the subscripts tell you how many of each individual atom. We also have coefficients. A coefficient goes in front of the number, and that means that you have 2 of everything after it. So if we had a 2, we had the formula 2, H2SO4, you'd have 2 times everything. So 2 times your 2 H's is 4. 2 times your 1 and your S is 2. 2 times your 4 and your O's is 8. So that would be the element inventory if there was a 2 in front of it. We've got some practice problems here, and those are on your paper. So SiO2, Si equals O equals, there's nothing written after the Si, so 1 and SiO2. So there's 2 O's. MgOH2, Mg equals O equals H equals. List all your elements, then go back and determine how many of each that you have. Mg has nothing written after it, so that's a 1. O has nothing written after it, but it has these parentheses around it. So let me blow this up. OH2. The parentheses after it apply only to the parentheses with a number after it. The number applies only to what's in the parentheses, not the Mg. So we've got 2 times everything in here, and remember these don't have a number after them, so it's a 1. So 2 times 1 is 2 O's, and 2 times 1 is 2 H's, MgOH2. So when you have parentheses, it applies only to those elements. When you have a number in front, if we go back and look at our first one, SiO2, if you have a coefficient, that applies to the whole compound. So you'd have Si equals 2, O equals 4. 2 times our 1 Si is 2. 2 times our 2 O's is 4 for our O's. This one, C, H, and O. How many C's? 12. How many H's? 22. How many O's? 11. So you're going to have to do this on your own in a minute. So if you've just kind of been writing down what I'm doing and not really thinking about how to do it, this is the point where you need to start thinking about what I'm doing. Maybe pause the video and do the next few first and then see if you're right. We've got one CA and one O because there's no coefficients written after them. This one here is a little tricky, this acetic acid. We've got, if we look carefully, even though there's a bunch of letters, there's only 3 elements in this whole compound, C, H, and O. So we're going to combine them all together. We've got one C and one C there is 2. We've got, to a different color, we've got 3 H's and 1 H there. So 3 plus 1 is 4. And we've got those 2 O's is 2. N2O. N equals O equals 2, 1. C, H, and O again, even though there's more letters, there's only 3 different elements in there. C equals 2, H equals those 5 plus 1 more there is 6, and O equals 1. H2SO4 we did. H equals 2, S equals 1, O equals 4, and HCl is our last one. H equals 1, Cl equals 1. So we've got some practice problems. I want to see if I can bring those up here. So the second page says to circle the subscripts, and box the coefficients. So circle the subscripts, box the coefficients. So we're going to look down here and do that. If we circle our subscripts, like on this one, we would do our 2, we'd do our 2, 4. So those are our subscripts. So what's a coefficient? The numbers in front. So those would all these in the second row would have boxes around them. Those are our coefficients. And remember, I want to do number 7 here. Remember that you multiply everything by the coefficient in the front. So 4 times 1n would be 4. I'm sorry, H. 4 times 1n now would be 4, and 4 times 3 O's would be 12. So finish those practice problems on this paper right here and bring it to me and show me when you're done.